Welcome to Horror Movies with TNA. Each episode, we're going to pick a film, talk about it, and rate it. Word of warning, there will be spoilers. This week, we're talking about Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This is a bona fide horror classic. Tale of good old-fashioned Texan hospitality. Some more advice. If you pop round to the Sawyers homestead unannounced, then don't be surprised if you're asked to stay for dinner. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So this is probably the first quite well-known film we've done. And the four people who will listen to this podcast will probably know
everything about
tons more about it.
I know, it's a weird one, but Texas Chainsaw Massacre, 1974. So a couple of years after Jaws. Oh no, hang on. It was not a couple of years. Jaws was done in 1975. Talking rubbish.
It's a year before.
Yeah.
This was probably what set the groundwork.
No, I don't know why I'm mentioning Jaws really, but it's
another well-known film.
Yeah.
Tobe Hooper directed, co-written by Kim Henkel. Obviously, Tobe Hooper did other films such as like Eaten Alive and Poltergeist, and
although now's the connection with Jaws. Everyone says that the actual person that directed most of Poltergeist was Steven Spielberg because he produced it. But if you look at the film, you could kind of see that it is very sort of E.T. Close Encounters bit. Yeah. It's not really scary, is it? Poltergeist, to be honest. Anyway, that's Poltergeist.
So give me your review.
Poltergeist, yeah. It's all right.
What other? He did Spontaneous Combustion, Body Bags.
Spontaneous Combustion.
And he did the.
He didn't. 2000... He did one of the stories out of Body Bag,
and
which was not very good.
No, and he also did the 2004 remake of Toolbox Murders as well.
Yeah, that wasn't very good either, actually.
No. Direct message.
So
people in it. I'm not going to. Marilyn Burns was in it. Obviously, Gunnar Hansen playing Leatherface is in it. A few other people.
I think he's actually called Leatherface at one point. I was listening out because I thought, where's Leatherface come from?
Because I don't think he has like the other members of the family have names, don't they? I suppose the only thing that's worth mentioning that is really well known is that it's not based on a true story, but it kind of got some of its inspiration from legendary American loon Ed Gein. Some of it, and you can kind of see a bit of a connection, but not much of one, I don't think.
Yeah, and if you want a more realistic,
deranged is
deranged is
a kind of a.
But the trailer's better for deranged than the film. Again, I'm rating other films here.
Okay, I'll cut it all out.
Okay. You what?
Mother loving loon.
Sally and Franklin set off across Texas to visit there's reports that graves, and we have this bit at the beginning, don't we? There's reports that graves are being vandalised or even robbed. So they set off to kind of travel to see their grandpa's grave and their family home.
This film is about a tragedy that befalls 5 youths. It is all the more tragic that they were young. The events of that day were to become one of the most bizarre crimes in the annals of American history.
It flashes up with bits of body parts, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it shows a bit where there's like a body sat on a grave, which I thought was a good bit.
Yeah, that's when you see, but there's like pictures being taken and it's just this weird noise.
Yeah, like almost like the clicking of a camera kind of.
Yeah, but the other bit isn't, and they've used that noise on other films since, I think. That.
Yeah, that kind of.
But that beginning bit is so weird, and like I say, they're taking pictures, and you can't quite make it out, and that straight away the front crawl of him saying this is a real story, which is bullshit. And then that coming, that in the first, it does make it like proper. And when I watched it on a VHS, which was a really bad copy in those days, when we couldn't get them in Britain because of video nasties and that, it was even more. The tape would used to go sort of weird. You know, it used to scroll up and
almost
down.
like, yeah, so it
When
made
it went,
it even,
"Ew,"
and it made it even harder to
Yeah,
make
as soon
out.
as it flashed up, you couldn't actually see it at all, which made it even more scuzzy and horrible. And
Could you make out what was actually when the screen went, when the credits are actually wrong? What's that meant to be?
I think that's the surface of the sun.
I thought it was like a planet.
Yeah, because the sun's used. It's obviously a really hot day, so it's meant to be the surface of the sun, took with a very clever camera. Again, not an expert, as you could just tell from that sentence.
Yeah, so I just put sounds, noises, bits of bodies. I know we've already said this. Jarring noises, flashing images of bits of goo, and then there's a body sat on a gravestone, which is quite cool. Who's the gang? There's 5 of them. Jerry, Sally, Franklin, Kirk, and Pam all jump in their van and off they go to investigate or visit or whatever.
Yeah, I don't. To be honest, you remember all that better. I mean, it's mainly Sally that, I'm sure anyone that's listened to this would have probably seen the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And if you haven't, watch it before you listen to the rest. I don't think we're going to ruin it for you anyway, if we... Even so, because it's not one that needs there's no spoilers with it, really. I don't think.
No, not really. Well, there's one spoiler. Actually, there is one spoiler, and we'll get to it.
Oh, okay.
It's a minor one.
We'll end up spoiling it.
Yeah, no, we won't.
Why not?
It starts off with a shot of some roadkill, and there's this little bit that's probably van pulls up, and Franklin gets out for a pee, and
rolls down the hill.
And rolls down the hill because there's a loud lorry that passes.
Yeah, that bit's a bit shy. But I was going to say that even the first shots, and when it first gets into the film, dead body wide up on a gravestone. The first shot of is it an armadillo?
Yeah, on its back.
On its back.
Yeah.
And then the car. The cinematography is really good.
There's some shots in it I really like.
And the way there's like a steady cam or so, I don't even know where it's steady cam. I think there's a lot where they like track, which for that type of film you think you don't need to, and there's loads.
I'll tell you the first of the good shots I quite liked is the bit where they're travelling along and they're all kind of talking, and Franklin's got this obsession about talking about a slaughterhouse or something, and he's freaking the other people in the van out, and then they pick up the hitchhiker. They pick up the hitchhiker. I quite like the shot because as they slowed to pick up Nubbins, it had a really big shot of the sky and just has him running as they stopped the van. He's running to get into the van, and I quite like that.
It does two things. He has loads of good shots, but he also looks scuzzy as well at points. You know what I mean? It looks cheap.
I think the thing is, it looks...
But they know what they were doing.
They obviously they had limited resources, but it was clear that Tobe Hooper kind of had something he was trying to do.
Is it Daniel Pearl or something that did the cinematography? I probably should have checked. What does a cinematographer do then? He just decides. The director kind of sets up the shots, but he would help, and he might set the lighting and the rest of it. So. He may have suggested, why don't we move all the way back here when we do the bit where he gets picked up, for instance. I don't know.
So Nubbins gets in. Nubbins Sawyer, I think his name is, the family name.
Is it Nubbins?
I'm sure his name's Nubbins. Franklin's also openly insulting him. The one thing to realise is, I think Franklin's meant to be quite an annoying character.
Oh, yeah.
I think the intention was that he was quite annoying. Saying that, every other character, and I even include Sally, who lasts until the end, are completely forgettable. So at least he's there to irritate the other ones.
You only feel for her later on because of certain scenes in it. Do you know? Oh, right.
Well, we can get to that anyway. There's this whole scene in the back of the van as they're travelling along where Nubbins is obviously freaking them out. He gets a knife out at one point and cuts his hand, and he's just... acting.
Yeah, razor blade, doesn't he?
Yeah,
like
he's just
a cutthroat razor.
And
because it's quite a tight van as well, so you do feel.
Yeah, they're cramped in with each other, aren't they? He grabs Franklin's penknife off him and starts cutting his hand, and that obviously freaks them out some more. And then he takes a photo of the guys, or takes a photo of Franklin, and they're not too keen on the photo, so he then proceeds to roll out a bit of silver foil and starts to burn the photo. So equally with there then
powder on it. So
yeah,
I think it's like
some like a phosphorus,
phosphorus. It's probably like something from chemistry,
and that freaks them out. And so they decide that he tries to sell them the crappy pick for $2 as well. And when they don't want to buy the crappy pick, they decide it's time for Nubbins to leave.
Well, yeah, but he decided to leave because they kind of kick him out, because he then gets his razor blade out and starts cutting Franklin's arm.
Oh yeah, and then he starts slicing Franklin with his razor blade.
So it's not just they're annoyed by him; he's trying to cut someone.
So I like the bit because they kick Nubbins out, and then he smears his bloody hand down the side of the. And there's a bit of a conversation about that later in the film, but he smears his hand down, and then he chases after it, blowing a raspberry. There's a lot of raspberry blowing in this film. I like it.
I don't even remember that one bit of raspberry blowing. You'll have to remind me later.
And I said it was my favourite bit of the whole film. I gave that bit 10 out of 10. Like that. 17 minutes in at this point. They're about 20 minutes in. The scene's been set. They've met their first weirdo, and they've kicked him out. It was enough for them. Motto for the 70s and 80s, I put, is don't hitchhike because you'll end up dead, and don't pick up hitchhikers because you'll end up dead. Then they arrive at you've got the scene which has been copied in quite a few films.
Gas station.
The gas station. So this is where Drayton Sawyer,
the older bloke, isn't he? He's like
at this
dad,
point,
isn't he?
There's the spoiler, you see, because at this point, obviously, we don't know he has anything to do. Well, that is no, but I'd already said it was Drayton Sawyer. At this point, you don't realise he's part of the family, and that's where it comes back to get Sally.
Yeah, and later on, that is dodgy. We'll get into that. But the bit I've written down here, so this is where, and they do use it in other films, and this might not be that PC, but there's a ginger guy.
There's an attendant, isn't there?
There's an attendant, a ginger guy with a massive head. Now, whether he had something wrong or not, I don't know. Just might have a massive head. But because he looked kind of weird.
This doesn't sound inclusive.
He looked kind of weird, but no, it's inclusive. Look, I don't look particularly normal.
Well, you've got a massive head. Yeah. Well, no, you've got a tiny head.
I've got a tiny peanut head. No hats fit me. But it's almost like they've got a real person. He might have been an actor, but real person, and he just keeps coming along and like washing the windscreen. And this is a bit I thought was quite funny. I never noticed it before, and I've watched it quite a lot of times. He sort of wipes the windscreen, does all the washing really badly with crappy water, then starts to tootle off. Then I can't remember. Someone asked a question, so he just goes, "Oh, I'll go back," and starts washing the windscreen again.
So he tootles off and then tootles back and does the job again.
It just made me laugh, but I don't know whether that was meant to be amusing or not. But he just,
I mean, by this point, I think they've realised that Texas is full of a lot of weirdos.
Yeah, but again, it gives it that kind of weird sort of
unease.
Even though, like I say, it's shot really well,
crisply, it feels.
But the one thing it is on 16mm, so even though they've try to clean it up, and the versions we've got are probably the best you've ever seen. I saw it on VHS from the 16mm bad copy, and I would say that's almost the best way to watch it, where you can't quite tell what's going on, even though it's got really good cinematography in that. It works better being a bit.
So how will the listeners be able to grab hold of a VHS recorder and a copy of it? Actually, you can on one of those internet auction sites.
We're not allowed to advertise eBay then.
Well, other auction sites are available and all that fucking. I noticed you could buy an original copy for probably about £40, £50.
It's cheaper than what we could have got it in the day.
Well, actually, I thought
we both bought it.
Well, Texas Chainsaw Massacre was at the time about £50-60, so it hasn't changed.
Yeah,
that
it wasn't too big. I think there was quite a lot of them. There was other stuff that was a
loads
lot more expensive.
Yeah, there was lots of copies around. Drayton says, "I've got no gas," and at this point they're asking for directions to the old Franklin place because obviously they're wanting to visit the farmhouse, the old place. Right, so we're about half an hour in. They then arrive at the old family farmhouse, which looks quite good because it's all kind of overgrown. It's like a big place.
Yeah.
This is the first building they get to, isn't it? And there's little bits that I thought were quite good because when they get out of the van and you've got this whole scene where Franklin's frustrated because he can't go upstairs with the rest of the gang.
Oh, and that's when he does the...
And then he starts...
Yeah,
he's kind of doing it,
long.
imitating voice. That whole scene, yeah, oh my God.
Well, he's left alone. I kind of, to be honest,
Yeah.
this is the only bit I was a bit sympathetic because they all go for a wander and obviously he struggles because he's in a wheelchair.
Yeah, and they kind of go off upstairs.
It doesn't make him any less of a penis, though.
Well, before he has
people.
the bit that I quite like was Kurt goes into one of the rooms in the old rundown house and there's like some spiders in a corner and there's like this clicking noise.
Yeah, I said that. Music sort of noise is good. And I was thinking, I couldn't quite make it out. It's something in the corner and it's making a very weird noise. I've never seen that amount of spiders.
It looks like they've all come out of a
it's again, it's
eggs.
weird. It's obviously real, but then they've added this weird kind of noise and music to it, and it's
just another like little thing.
Yeah.
Because then that's where scene where Franklin's frustrated because they're off having fun. He can't join in. He blows a raspberry, and then he imitates their
Thanks
voice.
for that. I didn't know what a raspberry was.
Come on, Franklin. It's going to be a fun trip. Raspberry. It's difficult to decide which is my favourite raspberry scene I put, and whether it was the original. But it's lots of him blowing raspberries, and like you said, that scene goes on way too long.
Yeah. So you've got a bit of sympathy until he goes. Point is, it just whatever. There you go.
We're half an hour in, so Kirk and Pam run off for a swim. So they've been around the house a bit. They're told that there used to be some kind of water somewhere, like a brook and they've said they're going to run off. And it's at this point when they're going to find the water that they spot the other house, the Sawyer place. And they think they might have some gas because they've been trying to get some gas ever since the gas station. So they go trudging off to try and so it's about half an hour in that we arrive at the house. And Kirk's knocking on the door.
Yeah, and they're going to say half an hour before anyone dies, which again, if most horror films now, you'd have someone right at the beginning, you'd have it as a bloody prologue.
In the credits, yeah. Well, I mean, there has been obviously a suggestion with the bodies and people, but yeah, this is the first time when they're actually...
I think it's better because it builds up to it. I keep saying this on other ones we've done. But if you just kill someone, then it's just a payoff. The build-up is the bit. It's like getting on a roller coaster.
It's like King Kong, the original, and actually the remake. Because you wait and wait.
Yeah, it's about an
hour. You wait and wait, and you know it's coming.
But it's the same. Like I say, with a roller coaster, this analogy is perfect. It's all right.
My King Kong one was better. Carry on.
But it's the bit
King Kong.
as it's going.
Yeah, you're building up to the
yeah,
big.
But when you do the bit, when you start going down it, you go, oh right. Well, yeah, you must probably still go, oh, this is scary, but it's the anticipation, not the payoff, which is the good bit, and I don't understand why. But when you do the payoff, by the way, it has got to be still good. It can't just be, oh, someone just jumps out. Well, like I say, there's lots of horror films where it doesn't pay off and you don't see anyone get killed and all that. That's bollocks as well. But it's the build-up that's the good bit, and you need that. And Halloween and this does it really well.
Kirk finds a tooth and scares Pam, who goes and sits on a swing. While she sits on the swing, he goes in the house, and then he gets battered over the head with a hammer.
Yeah, I mean, that's a massive shock, really, because generally there is no music build up to it. He goes in, and it's fairly normal, and he's checking it out, and he's...
Well, he knows it's a weird place, and he's kind of saying to Pam, come and have a look at this.
But it's the shortest build up, so there's been half an hour or so build up, but then when he walks to this door, and Leatherface just pops out and bonks him on the head.
He comes charging out
afterwards.
And the bit I like is Kirk doing the shaking on the floor when he gets hit, and then Leatherface batters him again because he's kind of jolting and shaking.
Yeah,
off
and
the
then he
first
slides the door. But again, I was watching a bit of the extras on the DVD. There's another shot, and I don't know whether it would have been as good. The main thing is it's incredibly abrupt. he gets to a doorway, he trips up, then looks up, and then Leatherface is there. Then he just gets bonked, and that's it. And then he's obviously shaking around, and then he gets bonked again, and then he just shuts the big famous shot of he shuts the big metal door. There was going to be a longer shot where you see Leatherface, after he bonked him, dancing around. You just see his feet near where the body is, dancing around because he's done something.
It does his Leatherface dance, but they've saved that for the ending, haven't they?
Which might have been all right, but it gives him a bit more personality.
I think it's probably better if they don't show at that point it's quite abrupt kind of works.
Yeah, and that's the main thing. It's weirdly abrupt.
And then this is where I wrote about, then she gets up off the swing in this quite low down shot as she, from a low angle where she approaches the house and the house is kind of looming over her.
It's very well done. It's not wobbly camera or anything. It's very smooth tracking shot. So all you're concentrating on is not, this is a wobbly camera. You're just thinking, shit, this shot looks very strange. Something ominous is about to happen. And we know it is because we just seen, her mate get bonked on the head.
He's getting a lot of bonk. There's a lot of bonking in this film, isn't there?
If only.
She goes into the house, but she stumbles and falls into all the bits of... And this is kind of where it gets the kind of Ed Gein, because you first properly see the house with the ornaments and the furniture made out of body parts, and there's lots of bones and lots of feathers. So she stumbles into the room, there's loads of bits and bobs, and there's like a cool bench.
Noises as well, isn't they? Yeah.
Yes. And there's like a cool bench that's made out of bits of body parts. I just put it was the Ed Gein collection.
And that's the only time there's quite a lot of long shots. That bit, lots of cutting to show all the different bits of bones in the room. So it's a bit where it suddenly goes, oh shit, she's panicking, she's falling into this room, and now lots and lots of shots.
She stumbles out and Leatherface grabs her and hangs her from a meat hook, and then she's forced to watch as...
Yeah,
he cuts up.
That's a lot worse than I remember.
Yeah,
that.
Well, the one thing that's always been said about this film was that the payoff in terms of blood and gore, the name would suggest and the fact it got banned and the fact it was quite infamous, suggests there's lots of blood and gore, but obviously it's always been known there's actually not that much on-screen gore. But I actually thought that scene, like you've just said, was a lot worse than I remembered because I've not seen this for a long time. I thought it was a lot worse, actually.
Again, you don't need to see Hook go through her. You won't see it. You probably wouldn't. But the way it's done, she just gets pushed. You can see the hook. You know she's going on it.
And then he kind of...
he pulls her down. He makes
sure she's properly on it.
And she's then trying to get off it. And then she has to then watch her boyfriend
that's the bit I thought...
chainsawed up right in front of it, knowing that she's...
That's the bit that struck me, that it's a lot worse than I remembered because of the fact that she's... And it doesn't need to show it. You know what's happening, so it doesn't need to kind of show him, but you know what's happening.
But it's bad enough.
We then switch back to the remaining three, which is Jerry, Franklin and Sally. Is it Sally? Sally's the main.
Yeah, Sally's going to be the main.
And Jerry goes wandering. I mean, if ever there was like a kind of forgettable, disposable character in this film, Jerry's another one. He goes next. I think he goes off shouting. Jerry goes in the house. So he's kind of walking through the field shouting their names. He goes in the house and he's wandering through the house, but the first thing he discovers Kirk's body in the fridge. It's a bit of a jumpy bit because he opens it and Kirk
he makes that
kind of sits up,
kind of noise again.
And then he gets battered on the head with the hammer as well. Leatherface turns up and batters on the head. It's more like, I just put Texas fucking Hammer Massacre more than Chainsaw. Because and Leatherface is a bit agitated and stressed then. And then it has a big close-up of his face with his big false teeth.
Adam's now showing me a drawing of...
No, I'm pointing at the microphone so people can hear...
And I mean, it's awful.
No, so people can hear the drawing. He's got like a joke shot false teeth on, hasn't he, behind the mask.
Oh yeah, he's sort of licking his lips or teeth a bit, yeah.
He's obviously stressed out about the situation because I assume Leatherface likes to kill one person a day, but this is a bit too much, isn't it? He sits in it and he's like he's like kind of contemplating and thinking this is too much today.
I'll make the noise I've been thinking. Oosh. There you go.
I mean,
this killing people's not working out.
Yeah, it's like how I feel in the afternoon at work. I'm like thinking I've had enough now. This is enough. The death count's trundling along nicely now. We switch back to Sal and Franklin. There's a painful scene where they can't find the van keys or something, and they can't find a flashlight, and there's about a couple of minutes for them to start arguing. It's fucking...
Yeah, but
there's a lot of screeching and screaming at each other.
Yeah, but I'm kind of okay with that because they don't know. They're arguing over something petty, but they don't know that they've got shit a lot worse to come when people are getting chopped up in the other, just down the road, mate. You want to you want to get in the van and fuck off.
People are getting hammered.
Sally, wait a minute!
Was that Franklin saying that?
Yeah, it just made me laugh because he just goes, Sally, wait a minute!
Sally, wait a minute!
Sally, wait a minute! Oh, you can do it. I can't do
it's
it.
a lot very
And then he has to trundle past it because he's like complaining
he's doing
that he
it,
won't be able to get there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sally, wait a minute!
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot better. Imagine that, but American.
50 minutes in now.
How long is the film?
I can only tell
It's
you
not long, is it? It's
the
about
last
80
bit.
minutes or so.
Listen, I like to write the times.
It properly motors along.
Mr. The Ghost here. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre runtime is, I don't know, but based on films similar to this, Leprechaun 6, Back to the Hood, Child's Play 2, Piranha 3DD, I'd say it was around 84 minutes. Okay?
About 50 minutes in, the final two finally rock up at the house.
Well, near the house, aren't they? Because they're in the dark, which is a really good bit where she's pushing him.
Well, this is the bit where Franklin says, Sally, I hear something.
Yeah, I've written that. And I thought this is an ace jump.
And this is the bit
you don't expect it, do you?
No, he comes out, and this is probably when I think I remember when they were saying there's not much of a payoff in terms of violence because he gets properly chainsawed.
Yeah, when he goes, I hear something. Suddenly, Leatherface jumps out, chainsaws him in the stomach. You don't see it go in the stomach, but you see Leatherface get a fair old amount of blood spatter all over it.
It gets covered. Yeah, probably the bloodiest death. That one. And so from this point on, we get 30 minutes of very wide-eyed screaming from Sal. There's lots of chasing and screaming.
Yeah,
really.
But
lots of close-ups of her eyes.
But it's like nightmare stuff, isn't it? You know what I mean? That like, I can't get away, or she can't run away quite fast enough. The falling over is a bit annoying. You think, but where she gets properly her hair caught in trees and that, and he just chainsawing through, you go, yeah, fair enough.
I have to say, Leatherface was chainsawing a lot of branches that weren't actually in his way. He didn't really need to chainsaw.
I know, but I think the idea is that she can't get out there fast enough, and yet he's finding it a piece of piss.
Quite eventful evening for her, though, because she gets chased by a big hunky man and then gets taken home for dinner to meet the family, doesn't she? So it's got...
Yeah.
She then runs, and I mean, little does she know, she inadvertently then runs into the madhouse. And the first thing she does is she runs up and meets Grandpa and Grandma Sawyer, and she meets them there.
Yeah, all the way up to in the attic. Why you run?
Yeah, she seems to run through the house because
I
think she panics and Leatherface is chainsawing the door and things like that.
Yeah, which is when you think about it, why is he chainsawing his own door?
Yeah, he could have just run. Yeah, but who cares?
You know, from the bit, like say, it takes a different logic. There's a tiny bit of logic, but when it becomes Franklin gets chainsawed in the stomach and she's running away, it's all logic's out the window. It's just like nightmare stuff. It's like you'd have
shit. Let's go. So straight away, she's constantly screaming in this situation, understandably. She jumps through a lot of windows, doesn't she, in this film? But she jumps through 2 windows, actually, not a lot. So she panics. Well, she's already panicking. She's like horrified, and she runs and she jumps straight out of the window, screaming. And then there's obviously more chasing. Then this is where she winds up at the gas station. And I suppose this is the bit of the twist, because she thinks...
Well, she runs in, doesn't she, in the gas station, which reminds me a bit of The Evil Dead. Mainly because, and I don't know why it is, the original Evil Dead.
Yeah.
When someone runs into a room and you think they're all safe, and then they leave the door open and there's pure black darkness out in that door.
Yeah,
I always think, fuck me, why would you ever do that? Why wouldn't you shut the door?
Close the fucking door.
I don't know, it does me in for some reason. No, bloke could just go, oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And that's what they do.
So she thinks she's safe now, although she's still hysterical. Drayton's there, and...
Is it Drayton? As in Drayton Man and Park and Sue?
There's lots to see and lots to do, yeah. So Drayton Sawyer's there, so she obviously thinks I'm saved, although she's hysterical, and then he beats her about the head with a broomstick handle.
Yeah.
Well, she realised at some point that he's not going to rescue her. He's not going to help her. What he's going to do is he's probably going to drag her back to their house.
Yeah, but that was for... I always remember it being quite bad, but I thought it was quite a lot worse because he just beats her up and then ties her up.
Yeah, he puts her in a sack, and then he bundles her into the van, and she's kind of on the floor next to him as he's driving along, and he's constantly jabbing her with it and laughing and jabbing her with the broom handle.
But he doesn't just do it once, does he?
No, he's constantly properly jabbing
and then
her.
he's enjoying it as well, like it's properly something weird. Well, obviously, but because you can hear her screaming, and then he just start poking and going, "Oh,
yeah." So she grabs a knife to fend him off. He bashes her with a broom handle, bundles her in the car, and as he's driving her back to the madhouse,
lots of pokings.
He's giving her
with a broomstick or a bit of stick.
Oh, and there's a little interlude where he spots Nubbins on the way home, so he gets out and starts beating him round the head as well. There might be a raspberry in there as well. But then they drag him back to the madhouse. They bring Grandpa down for dinner. I'm got to be honest.
Grandpa's makeup in this is an old man plastic mask on a young bloke.
Some dude.
I don't think anyone is watching it nowadays would be worrying. At this point, if they've been properly watching the film, they wouldn't give a shit that Grandpa looks a bit ropey.
There's a scene where Pops sucks the bleeding finger, isn't there?
And then, does she pass out then?
Well, she's kind of at the table with the whole family now. So she's at the table, and we have this bit where because she's kind of constantly screaming, and this is the bit I like actually. When she's screaming, they kind of start all screaming.
Well, she wakes up, doesn't she?
Yes.
Because she passes out, and she wakes up and then goes, "Fuck me, this is real." And then starts screaming, and they all go.
And they start screaming as well.
Leatherface is bouncing and getting all excited.
Yeah, he's like a kind of big kid, isn't he? And he's like kind of bouncing and getting all excited. Nubbins is getting all excited. Drayton, there's times when he's definitely seems like the leader, but he's like kind of also concerned about... He's the only one that's really concerned about getting caught.
But he seems to have a bit of common sense, even though he's still a maniac from the prodding with the stick. There is the quote that I wrote that made me giggle, which was when he does bring her in first. I'm going back a bit, but when he brings her in first to the he goes, "Look what your brother did to the door."
Yeah, he complains about him chainsawing her in the door, doesn't he?
Which you would do. Fine. Look what your brother's done to the bleeding door.
He's already frustrated with Nubbins because he's a bit of a dilbert, and
he's telling off Leatherface as well.
Because they're wrecking their house.
Yeah, you don't want to chainsaw your own door. There's a tip.
Absolutely not.
You damn fool! You ruined the door. Again, I'm not very good with the impressions.
Also, I like the fact that Leatherface gets himself dolled up for the dinner as well, doesn't he? Because he's wearing makeup.
Oh yeah, he puts makeup on.
I think there's about 3 or 4 different masks he's wearing.
Someone says, "Hey, Leatherface, give me a hand with Grandpa to get him down before they're beating up."
So that's where... Right, okay.
I'm pretty sure that's... Because I always thought, people made up the name because he's wearing a skin for mask and it's
a name that came afterwards.
But it was in the film.
Oh, okay.
There you go. But, well, for everyone that already knew that, get fucked. But for the ones that didn't, I didn't. So now you know. It's in the film.
So that dinner scene, there's loads and loads of close-ups of Sally and her eyes as it's like focuses in on her eyes and trying to show the terror. as she's kind of, and it keeps switching back from her face to the family's face.
Yeah, there's a few cuts there again.
And
it's not a lot of cuts in the film, except at certain bits.
So we have this drawn out dinner party, and then somebody wearing Sally's hair runs and jumps out the window. I think what I was saying is the person that ran and jumped out the window looked fuck all like her. But anyway,
then when I go say there's a lot of jumping out of windows, but let's quickly go back to the dinner scene very quickly. It's like I put nightmare stuff and I put sound cut, screaming, zoom. So there's like they must have spent a lot of time just on that dinner bit.
Yeah, I think that's
because it compared to the rest. There's loads more cuts, loads more zoom in, loads more sound and screaming, and
I think it's the most. You can understand why they spent a lot of time on that, because that's almost like the pivotal bit in the film, isn't it? Where she's dragged there and she has to go through this horrifying thing of where she spends this time with these absolute fucking maniacs.
It's a different type of horror film. When you think of horror film, slashers, there's a big suspense and then someone gets killed or it's a jump. This is just. It's like a nightmare. If you can imagine your worst nightmare, you're sitting having a meal with people that are probably going to eat you.
Yeah, but you say the worst nightmare, but surely it's being on a yacht with a mutant cat, isn't it?
And that's a callback to episode podcast. If you haven't listened to episode podcast 1.
And then they attempt to batter her over the head, and as a result of that, they loosen her.
Yeah, because they have to drag her over and she gets battered on the head. They keep giving. Yeah, so because he's the expert, or what's he? He's the best killer in the.
Yeah, apparently he's Sawyer's like the killer,
the original killer. So they give him a little hammer to twat her over the head with.
Yeah, to hit her over the head.
Technical, and with a big metal bucket underneath her. So the idea, and he hits. The hammer twats her once, and you see her head start bleeding.
Yeah.
And it goes on for a while, but not in a bad way. Normally I'll go, it went on for a while, but it goes on, and he keeps trying to hit her. And she's screaming and going, what's going off? And again, it's all building up to pretty grimness.
And then she stands up and says,
legs it out the window.
I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Leatherface and Nubbins. So she's jumped out the window now.
Great album. That was a great album.
What? Nubbins and Leatherface?
No,
Leatherface. Because it's built up to this absolute tension, and she just says, fuck this, and she runs and jumps out the window.
And now it's getting a bit light as well, which is good as well, I thought, because she's had a whole night of shit. So it's done in real time, but it's only an hour, so it isn't really real time, but it feels longer.
Yes.
That makes no sense, but you get the general gist.
Nubbins is slashing Sally's back as well.
Yeah, she's not running very quick, which makes it worse. Again, it makes it like a nightmare. I keep going back to this, but everyone's had the nightmare where someone's chasing you and you can't get away quick enough. You can't run fast enough because it wouldn't be a nightmare. You'd just be, oh yeah, there's miles behind me. But he's just like slashing her and about, and she's screaming and screaming. And luckily, a truck comes up. But sorry, you were going to say. You know when what?
I don't think...
You've never had a nightmare?
No, I'm saying... you're saying Chuck Norris would have, like, where he's being chased. He'd just turn... Even in his dreams, he'd turn around and fucking drop kick him. Right in the bastard's face. Oh, Lord. Now, listen.
So she's running. It's got light now, so it's early dawn. And she's getting slashed on... What? Do you want me to carry it on, or are you trying to do it?
No, it's because you mentioned the lorry driver, and he's my favourite person in the whole film.
Well, I'll let you go, because I've written a bit as well. I'm going to say exactly the same thing.
No,
I just put truck driver ace.
Yeah. Well, he helps. So she runs out. So she's being chased by Leatherface and...
Leatherface can't run very fast, though.
Well, Nubbins gets hit by the lorry, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, so that's true, and it goes over his head, which I forgot.
Yeah, so Sally runs out into the road. Nubbins follows, and the lorry hits him, and he runs over him. Then the lorry driver gets out and obviously realises he needs to help Sally, and he drags her into the cab to get away from Leatherface, and they crawl through and go out the other door, don't they? The other side.
Yeah,
of it. Leatherface
it's a bit
trying
useless.
to cut the door.
Yeah.
But he grabs. He does when he's being chased. He does grab a wrench and throws it at Leatherface's head, which makes Leatherface fall over. And it's the first time actually we see the chainsaw cut anything, which is Leatherface's leg.
Yeah.
So he's not too happy about that.
Which, to be honest, I was going to say it's a bit grim. It's not, to be honest. It just the chainsaw sort of just rests on his leg a bit and it cuts into his leg. You can see it's dangerous, isn't it? Chainsaws.
Yeah, well, don't mess around with them.
Be careful.
And then
the truck. Well, that was the thing. The truck driver is pretty shit in the end. So the truck driver runs over someone by accident, but he does a favour to Sally. Then kind of helps Sally and goes, "Come in." And then Leatherface goes, "I'm going to change the foot of this. I'm going out the other door. I'm not going to drive off. I'm going to go out the other door."
Yeah, they could have just stayed in the lorry and drove off.
Yeah, because he wasn't getting through there. And he
made the wrong choices.
Yeah. So he runs off, but he does have a wrench with a good throw in the face.
Yeah, it's a good throw, yeah.
Yeah.
Good aim.
Bit of cut on the leg. I'm going over what we've already said. But then another car goes past, because I think that other bloke, the truck driver, just legs it down the road. Doesn't even go back to his truck.
He runs off, and then another a van
very
turns
slowly
up,
legs it. He's a big lad.
And Sally jumps in the back of the van. This is probably my favourite bit, because obviously Leatherface does his moronic dance in the middle of the road with his chainsaw dance.
Well, he's just dead annoyed. He's dead annoyed, isn't he?
Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers, I think they recreated this exact dance in the film, didn't they?
That's a terrible film.
The bit I like about it is the fact that, apart from Nubbins, Leatherface and Drake, they don't get killed. I didn't want Leatherface to get killed. I wanted him still to be alive, so that she escapes, but essentially he's still out there.
And everyone knows that. Everyone says about so Sally's now, because she jumped out of two windows, absolutely covered in blood, so she looks like a maniac. And she starts laughing a bit because he goes, "Oh, I'm getting away." So the truck's moving away, and Leatherface is getting really annoyed. But she's not really laughing. She's sort of gone mental. But let's be honest, in the nicest possible way, she's sort of crying,
I mean, it's
laughing.
that kind of maniacal laughter that you get
she'd
to
had a
where
night
you're
of
just
it,
like
hadn't she?
deliriously laughing.
I mean, we've all had nights where, we wake up, gonna be eaten, beaten over the head, and then chainsawed up, haven't we?
We've all been there. And
that's it.
And that's it.
Let's review the film. Mark it out of 10. Knock it to the point. Let's review the film.
Let's rate Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 1974 with Tobe Hooper. You might remember him. He directed such film. Oh no, we're starting again. The Nightmare has begun.
Yeah, don't go over it again. Just rate it. 9 out of 10 easily. I forgot how good it was. I was going back in thinking, I'm going to be disappointed here, even though I knew it was a good film. And for a few years, I'd never watched it all the way through because I was a bit scared, to be quite honest. But then I thought, well, I'm that jaded nowadays that you
can handle it.
Well, it's not just that. I just thought, God, blimey. In a way, when it was suggested to watch it, I was going, all right then. But I'm glad it did, because it still holds up, and everyone says, it still holds up, all of that. It fucking does. Properly does. It's a proper horror film.
You like it? 9 out of 10.
Easily. I don't know whether... I'm trying to think what I'd give 10 out of 10. And
Cujo.
I've never seen Cujo, so I don't know.
Rabid dog, innit? I'd not watched it for however many years, 20-something years. I think there's a reason. I didn't enjoy it as much as you did. I don't think I did. There's a lot of good bits about it, and I agree with a lot of what you've said. I like a lot of the kind of shots, and I found it a hard slog. I always find that film a hard slog. Absolutely, yeah. I do. I always find it a hard slog. There's a reason why it's been 20 years since I've watched it. And if I put any film, in my opinion, any film that's like a 9 out of 10, I'd be regularly watching it. Had you not suggested we watch this, I don't think I'd have ever watched it again.
Oh, right.
So I don't know what that says. However, I did enjoy it more than I remember.
You didn't watch it on your laptop, did you?
No, I watched it on the telly. I
Oh,
just watched it on
right.
the telly, normal. I don't think that would make that much difference.
Oh,
Anyway,
yeah,
would
right.
it? Oh, you need the full
Should've watched it in
cinematic
a portable
experience.
under your bed.
No, and I suppose I'll upset a lot of like horror fans who absolutely love this film, but get fucked. What I'll say is, I enjoyed it more than I thought I would, but I'm still not a massive fan of it, and I probably give it an 8, just to keep you happy.
No, don't have to.
It may be a proper horror film. I get all the quality behind it, but for me, I've got to sit there and I've got to enjoy it.
All right, so if you disagree, then DM us in Twitter or whatever, and suggest other films we might watch.
We're
One of the
open
few.
to watch anything, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time. Ciao.
Trebot.